Welcome to our studio, and I'm going to be talking to you about live streaming and multicam in 2018. Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome to my studios here at Spaghetti in Birmingham. We are going to be talking to you about vision mixing and live streaming, what the companies who've been making the kit have done to make it easier, and what we're doing to make it easier for the end creators. Now, here we've been producing all types of video for a long time, but vision mixing and live streaming is becoming more and more prevalent. More people are asking for it, and this has been traditionally quite an expensive thing to do. We've used all sorts of bits of equipment to do that. So, for example, we have, up until fairly recently, had a load of Sony cameras. The colours all matched, the frame rates, resolutions, they all work together. And generally that was a rule of thumb with vision mixing, particularly in the way that we were doing it, in order to keep costs a bit lower. So that's all changed this year, and I'm going to get onto why that is in a minute. But I'll give you a bit of a history of how we've run our studios here. So you, in this frame, can see a part of our studios, but behind you is rigged up. We have 16 cameras which will run upstairs into our gallery, where we do all the video mixing, adding in graphics, all the rest of it, and either live stream it out or record it. That's quite an expensive thing to do, and our clients will come here. They may have a chat show to do, or a program, or some corporate communications that they want to do. And the cost of having all that equipment here has been quite expensive, but that has been getting better. And we've traditionally used Nutek's TriCaster series. We've also used Blackmagic Design's ATEM 1ME and 2ME. But this year, that's all changed for us. We've taken some big steps to move away from the traditional gear. And I will add that the stuff we were using before was pretty affordable, particularly the Blackmagic ATEMs. So now, in 2018, Blackmagic Design have announced and unveiled, and in fact here it is, the brand new ATEM TV Studio 4K. If you're into vision mixing before, the Television Studio will be familiar with you, and it was a great starter setup for many people. But Blackmagic have really changed the game here, particularly for us and in turn to our clients in terms of what they can do. The unit itself is here, and it's a beautiful piece of kit based on the same design as their 1ME Advanced panel and the colour correction wheels, which I don't recall the name of it, alas. It's the same design. So we've got now a physical way of mixing, which really at this price point we haven't had before. There are many software options out there, but the cost is in the hardware that you need to run on them. But for the first time, and this is the bit that really captures our clients' imagination, we can really be repurposing a lot of cameras that we couldn't use before. So, for example, on our previous setups, we would have 6 to 8 of the same kind of camera going into the vision mix system. That meant that, all frame rates, resolutions, and anything else that might be a bit off are all playing nicely together. With the new ATEM TV Studio 4K, that problem is solved by the addition of scalers on each of the 8 inputs. The scalers, quite simply, mean that you can plug anything in. So you've got an up-down cross converter on every input in 4K. I'm not sure that today that there are any multi-up-down cross converters that go to 4K. There are Decimators and Blackmagic Zone, but they are limited to HD. This will do it all in 4K, which is really cool. And the price of one of those scalers ordinarily is a few $100s at least. And this whole unit has 8 of them in and is a lot less than the cost of buying 8 scalers. Anyway, what that actually means is that for us, we can, for the first time, without needing lots of extra bits of hardware, put a plethora of different cameras into the Vision Mix unit. So, where we have clients who are dipping their toe into the water of maybe program making, maybe live streaming, whatever it might be, a big cost of that before was all the cameras and hardware that they would use. Well, the Blackmagic ATEM TV Studio 4K is very well priced, and we can now use some cameras which have really been sat on the shelf not doing a lot for a while. So here I just have a selection of different cameras which all play nicely together using the onboard scalers. We've got the Canon C100 there now, which you can pick those up for, I imagine, around $1,000. They're not a lot of money, but still a great camera. With the addition of just an HDMI to SDI converter, then they will also play. We've got the old workhorse, a Sony EX3 here, a Sony F3, AJA Scion here, and even the GoPro down the front. Now, most of these cameras wouldn't be seen in a live environment. They don't have a lot of the things you'd expect from a live environment, but also they're actually just really old cameras now. Most of these you haven't been able to buy for some time. The C100 is on a Mark II now. The EX3 has been long replaced. The Sony F3 is the same, and the AJ Scion, well, that was a damp squib from the get-go. But to have these cameras collecting dust in our kit room and being able to bring them out and offer them to our clients at very competitive prices has meant that we're bringing a lot more people into the live streaming game. And as I said, that's just simply not been possible before. Sure, with Nutek's TriCaster, you can do a similar thing, but the actual implementation of it hasn't been particularly great. A lot of people have asked about delay, where there are sync issues and things, and fortunately, on the ATEM software that drives the hardware, you can actually dial in that delay as well. So all of your cameras remain in sync, and it's been a really, really great investment for us. As I mentioned earlier, we've traditionally used the 1ME and 2ME because both vision mixers give us a bit more in the way of oomph. So we're actually losing out on the mix effects by moving to the Television Studio Pro 4K. However, the offset against the usability of this has meant that this is the way we've gone. So what this panel gives us is tactile hardware control at not a lot of money. We can switch all of the inputs and the outputs using the hardware in a way that feels familiar if you're using Vision Mix panels previously. We also have all of our sound controls on the top as well. As well as that, there are lots of other cute little features along the way. The DVE wipes and all the rest of it are all there to hand. Similarly, although we have 8 inputs, we've got shift option to be able to select other things such as the media players and what have you. And this sort of pseudo T-bar that exists on the ATEM system as well, it just all helps to not be distracting whilst you're trying to vision mix your show. So that's the system itself. This particular system takes in 8 cameras, which for most people will be more than enough. The way we typically have it set up is that we'll use 6 cameras going in, and then we use Blackmagic's Hyperdeck Minis for media playback and recording. We can have 2 media players, which in this case we have as cameras 7 and 8, and we use a third one for recording the program. If we want to live stream out, we panel straight out of the back of the Hyperdeck into the web presenter, and we live stream out from there. That's been working really well. And the great thing is that if you've used any piece of Blackmagic Design equipment, then you'll be familiar with how this works as well. It all kind of works the same way. We've taken then an extra step. So we've been able to, with the support of Blackmagic bringing products like this to market, really lower the price points to entry for creators. And I'll put some examples up on the screen of people who've come in and produced shows with us. And this is the first time these people have been able to get involved in web broadcasting. So that's hugely exciting for us. But Blackmagic have also had the Ursa cameras for quite some time now. And those play nicely with the ATEMs as well. And that works across ATEM 1ME, 2ME, 4ME as it is now, and these, whereby on the back of this unit, you'll see 8 inputs, but you'll also see 8 outputs. This will provide program feeds back to Blackmagic's own cameras, as well as give you complete camera control over the unit itself. So this is our Ursa Broadcast, which we've been using for a little while now. And you can see we've got a very basic ENG lens, well, a very cheap ENG lens. It would have been expensive once, but now they're 10 a penny. We can control every facet of this camera remotely, and that's a function that would cost thousands of pounds to be able to do with another manufacturer's piece of kit, all via the SDI. So we can control we can grade the camera. So we have the sort of resolve wheels within the ATEM software. We can control on this, because it's powered zoom, we can control the zoom, focus, and iris on the lens as well. And we can start to stop and alter any other settings that we want to on the camera, all via the return SDI feed. If you're a bit more professional than that, they do have fiber backpacks and things on the back of it. It also supports talkback. We don't use those two things because, again, we're trying to keep the barrier to entry quite low. So we use now, for our A-level shoots, a set of Ursa Broadcasts. Where budget is a bit more restricted, we'll use any cameras that people want to have. And things like having the GoPro available to use are particularly great because it gives you the ability to have sort of a top-down shot that wouldn't ordinarily be afforded to productions on the budget that we're talking about. So the decision for us to go with the Blackmagic Design ATEM Television Studio 4K, and yes, it is a mouthful, it took us a little while to get there. We weren't sure if we were really going to be missing all of the extra features of the MEs, but in truth, for 99% of things that our clients ask us for, this has been a great panel. It also, because of its all-in-one form factor, means we can lift this up, take it straight out, and be working elsewhere. All in all, we think that this panel for our business has helped us help our clients a lot more, and at the price point, I'm sure it could help you too.